Tuesday, this Tuesday, is the August primary election. Oh my gosh, the 5th. So if you haven't got your ballots in, please get them in already. And I generally tell you guys, and I say this all the time, whether it's campaign mailers sent out by a Republican or a Democrat, they're usually so dishonest. And they're filled with lies and gaslighting. And I always tell you, you just take those mailers and you throw them right in the trash, and you do your own research on some of these candidates rather than believing what you hear in mailers. And this latest round of mailers is particularly true. You know, there are a couple races we're watching very closely because they could help bring Olympia a little closer back to sanity. But they're interesting because they're D-on-D races. And we have a lot of Republicans who watch this show, and I've encouraged you not to sit out D-on-D races, to make sure that you're helping the more reasonable Democrat try to win. So down in the 33rd legislative district, which is like the Burien area, you already know who I favor in that race. He's a Democrat named Kevin Schilling. He's the mayor of Burien. And I like Kevin. He's been on the show. I don't agree with him on everything, of course. He's a Democrat, but he's very pro-public safety. He has been going to great lengths, even getting in legal battles with King County so he can try to clear the rampant tent encampments and drug dealing and using off his streets. But because of that, because he doesn't want the streets of downtown Burien flooded with tents right in front of businesses, because he doesn't want people using drugs out in broad daylight and committing crimes to fund his drug habit, because of that, the progressives don't like him. Oh, they do not like him one bit. He's running against a progressive named Edwin Obras. We'll get to more on him in a moment. But this is the latest mailer. How predictable is this? This is the latest mailer they sent out about poor Kevin Schilling. MAGA loves Kevin Schilling. I mean, come on. It even has this like little fake crowd, and it's clearly a stock image, but you can see people wearing red hats that he's standing in front of. Oh, I got to read this to you. It says, quote, has quotes around it. Democrat lobbyist Kevin Schilling's campaign for the state legislature is funded by one of the biggest Republican Trump donors in the state. Steve Gordon gave $50,000 to Donald Trump's inauguration and said in a recent interview that he gives Trump an unabashed A for everything other than the tariffs. And we know Steve Gordon. He's a nice guy. I think he was a Ron DeSantis guy, but then he ended up being, supporting Trump when Ron DeSantis didn't make it through. And apparently he's also helped financially with Kevin Schilling's campaign. Like Kevin Schilling, you know how many people donate to campaigns? And so now they want to believe that you are responsible for the political views of any person who donates to your campaign. But this one is hilarious. It says Schilling, a shill for GOP values. Why is he pushing, Steve Gordon, Kevin Schilling? Maybe it's because Kevin Schilling waited in a long line to attend a Trump rally, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Or maybe it's because he stood up for landlords over renters in opposing common sense legislation to reduce the size of rent increases. Under Mayor Schilling, Burien even sued to stop a minimum wage initiative. So first, let me just touch on that first sentence. Why is he pushing this Trump donor, Kevin Schilling? Maybe it's because Kevin Schilling waited in a long line to attend a Trump rally, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You might be like, okay, well, did he wait in a long line to attend a Trump rally? And why would he do that if he's not MAGA? You guys, this is nuts. So back when Donald Trump was running for office the first time, so like 10 years ago, Kevin Schilling was in college. And at the time, Donald Trump visited the Palouse. So there was a Donald Trump rally out in Pullman. Kevin Schilling, then a student, did an interview with a student newspaper about how he thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to the rally at their campus of a presidential candidate, but made it very clear in that same interview as a student, again, he was a kid at the time, that he didn't support Donald Trump, but he thought it was cool that a presidential candidate was coming to campus. So these shameless lunatics take the fact that as a college student interested in politics, Kevin Schilling thought it was cool to go to a Donald Trump rally and would have said the same thing no matter what presidential candidate would have come to campus. And he's not a Trump supporter now, hasn't voted for Donald Trump. So they're putting out these mailers because they're so lazy. And they think you are so stupid. These progressives think so little of their voters that they think if we just tie a candidate to Donald Trump, people are so stupid they won't vote for them. This particular ad wasn't paid for by Kevin Schilling's opponent. It was paid for by the New Direction PAC, which is even more telling. So the New Direction PAC says it fights for economic security, social justice, environmental protection, and personal freedoms. We work to elect legislators who put people first rather than the wealthy, corporate, and special interests that have far too much power in Olympia. Who do you think the top 3 donors to the New Direction PAC are who don't want Kevin Schilling in office? The 3 most powerful unions in the state: SEIU 775, the Washington Education Association, and SEIU Healthcare 1199 Northwest. These are the unions that are benefiting profoundly from hundreds of millions of dollars in new taxes. And they don't want a Democrat like Kevin Schilling, who has been willing to push back against things that will be detrimental to our economy, like new taxes, like an out-of-control minimum wage. So they're like, what is the lowest hanging fruit that we can do to make sure Kevin Schilling doesn't win? Let's say that MAGA loves him. Because again, they really do think voters are stupid. And rather than talking about their own candidate, so in this race, it is Edwin Obras versus Kevin Schilling. They're both Democrats, but they're very different kinds of Democrats. And Edwin Obras was installed in that seat by Democrats to fill a vacancy, which is why they have to run for this seat again. And he, hook, line, and sinker, every single thing Democrats and progressives wanted to do in Olympia, he voted for. And they know Kevin Schilling won't. Because Kevin Schilling has pushed back against King County and the unwillingness to clean up encampments that are flooding downtown Burien, gotten a legal battle over it. And he's pushed back against higher taxes. And Democrats can't have that. So they need to take a fellow Democrat who they have more in common with than not, and they're willing to throw him under the bus and paint him as a MAGA Trump supporter. It's wild stuff. And this is a consistent theme. So there's 2 other, and to me, let me just say, if you're a Democratic voter, fine, cool. I know we have Democratic voters who watch the show, and you don't like Donald Trump. Isn't it offensive to you that that's like the only thing they tried to earn your vote based off of? Is they think you're so dim-witted and dumb that the only issue you care about is Donald Trump? And that's what they keep pushing out there and shoving down your throat. Doesn't that kind of offend you? I just feel like it would offend me if they were just low-hanging fruit, weren't talking about the serious issues the state was facing, and just thinking that I'm dumb and dim-witted enough to vote for someone based on how much they hate Donald Trump. So that's the case in these 2 other D-on-D races. So in state Senate, very important race for the 48th legislative district, which is like the Kirkland area. Vandana Slaughter is the current state senator for that district, but she was installed by Democrats to fill a vacancy. And running to challenge her is Amy Wallen. Amy Wallen is a Democrat. I don't agree with everything she does, but she certainly has been more business friendly, more interested in actually making public safety improvements. So I've said, if you're a Republican in that district, vote for Amy Wallen. The other one where this Trump obsession is happening is state Senate, the race for the 5th district, which, again, similar situation. Victoria Hunt was installed by Democrats to fill a vacancy that happened after Senator Bill Ramos passed away. She's being challenged by Republican Chad Magandons. I've already said, even if you're a moderate Democrat, we need to try to steal the supermajority away from Democrats so the disastrous policies aren't happening. So you got to vote for Chad in this race. But here, so I start seeing all these ads pop up, and it's like they're written by the same person. I mean, these candidates have to have like the exact same campaign advisor who's taping all their ads and pushing them out. Here are 2 ads recently released by Vandana Slaughter and Victoria Hunt.
As your state senator, I'm working hard on local priorities in a time of Trump chaos.
That's why I invested in public safety and first responders and worked to protect our economy and neighbors from Trump chaos.
Trump chaos.
Trump chaos.
Trump chaos.
Trump chaos. I mean, even the music is the same. Who cares? You're running for state Senate. You're not going to be able to do anything about Donald Trump. But they think so little of their voters, and I'm sure some of their voters are going to absolutely love that. Like, oh, they're fighting against Donald Trump. They have my vote. And then not care if they're actually doing anything beneficial to the state. And while I'm at it, Victoria Hunt. So I see her ad, it's playing all the freaking time. I'm used to lies in political ads. I've been covering politics here for 15 years. I'm used to gaslighting and political ads and all of that. But this one, almost every single sentence is either a lie or an exaggeration or a misdirection. So first, let me just play it in full.
We need legislators who put our priorities first. That's why I invested in public safety and first responders, funded local schools for my kids and yours, expanded affordable housing, and protected seniors on fixed incomes, and worked to protect our economy and neighbors from Trump chaos. And when the state budget was threatened by federal cuts, I reduced spending and defended critical services.
I'm so over it. It's so frustrating to me because all of us, we watch those ads with a critical eye and we follow state politics and all of this. But you have to remember there's so many people who are sitting on their couches and they just absorb all of those lies and all of that nonsense. Let me go over it piece by piece if we could. So let's play it again.
We need legislators who put our priorities first. That's why I invested in public safety and first responders.
Okay, stop right there. You invested in public safety and first responders. You guys passed a watered-down version of a promise that Bob Ferguson made to give $100 million to hire more law enforcement officers. And what it did at the end of the day is a skeleton of what it was promised to do. And not a single dollar of that $100 million has to actually be spent on hiring more police officers. It can be spent on all this ideological nonsense. And in order to spend it, cities and counties have to pass a tax increase. When cities and counties should already have more than enough money, and our state should already have more than enough money to fund one of the core functions of government, public safety. So you didn't invest in shit. Okay, keep going.
Local schools for my kids and yours.
Stop there. You funded local schools for my kids and yours. That's literally mandated by law. We have something called the McCleary decision that mandates that you fully fund education. So that's not something great you did. It's literally a legal requirement. And might I also say, which I'll get to in a moment, more of, in order to quote unquote fully fund local schools, you guys have increased property taxes and allowed local jurisdictions to increase property taxes exponentially. And even though we're spending more money on education than ever before, test scores are lower than ever, enrollment is down, and attendance is down. So you can fully fund our schools all you want, but our schools are still performing very poorly. Keep going.
Expanded affordable housing and protected seniors on fixed incomes.
Okay, stop right there. Expanded affordable housing and protect. No, you guys didn't. You've only been in the Senate. First of all, this was your first legislative session in the Senate. Was there a bunch of new affordable housing that was built in the last 6 months? You also passed rent control, which will dramatically decrease housing availability in the state of Washington. Not to mention, when you say you protected affordable for seniors, first of all, you guys gave local jurisdictions more taxing authority to increase property taxes. And you guys contemplated allowing essentially unlimited property tax increases. So that's just all a lie. Okay, keep going.
And worked to protect our economy and neighbors from Trump's chaos.
Stop right there. Work to protect our economy and neighbors from Trump chaos. So didn't even necessarily do it. You worked to do it. Was that successful or not? But at the same time, you guys passed $9.5 billion in taxes. Most of those directed at the business community. Explain to me how that's protecting our economy. We already have businesses leaving over it. $9.5 billion in new taxes, a big chunk of that increased B&O taxes, even for small businesses. You didn't protect our economy from anyone, from anything. You have hurt our economy. Gosh, let's keep going.
When the state budget was threatened by federal cuts, I reduced...
Stop it right there. And not to mention she's in front of a pride flag, which is come on, bro. Can you actually go back a little bit? Does it allow you to rewind? Oh, I thought the pride flag was above the American flag for a second. I was about to have a heart palpitation. So can you go back even a little more? Sorry.
And when the state budget was threatened by federal cuts, I reduced spending and defended critical services.
When our state budget was threatened by federal cuts, we had a $15 billion budget deficit that had nothing to do with the federal government. When our state budget was threatened by federal cuts, it was all self-imposed. It was a total self-inflicted wound, years and years and years of Democratic misspending. But you can't acknowledge that because then you'd be putting the onus on yourself. So you blame it on the federal government when we came into the session before Donald Trump with a $15 billion plus budget deficit? I don't even know what to say to that. It's one of the most dishonest political ads I've ever seen. And she's only been in politics, in the state legislature in politics, for like 7 months. Not even. And she's already putting out one of the most dishonest political ads I've seen in 15 years covering politics in the state of Washington. That's psycho. It's just crazy stuff. So all these people, Trump, oh my gosh, lowest common denominator. And the other thing I'd say about it, did you really not actually do anything that you're proud of that you could talk about in your ads? Like, isn't there one thing you did that you actually did that's not a lie that you could talk about in your ad? Is there nothing like that? Every single line you have to make up or exaggerate or gaslight? That's really concerning. I'll also say, can you play her full ad? Sorry, I'm beating a dead horse. Can you play the full ad from her one more time?
We need legislators who put our priorities first. That's why I invested in public safety and first responders, funded local schools for my kids and yours, expanded affordable housing, and protected seniors on fixed incomes.
So you can stop it there. If you didn't know any better, doesn't that sound like a moderate? All of these progressives, before they get to the Trump TDS part, all of these progressives and Bob Ferguson, they run for their job acting like moderates. So what does that tell you? It tells you that they think that that will appeal to voters, that they think that'll help them win an election. If they talk about public safety and the economy and taxes, but then they go to Olympia and they act cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and do the exact opposite. But that's confusing to me because if you think being a moderate will get you elected and that voters like it, then why not just go to Olympia and be a moderate and then you don't have to lie in your campaign ads about being a moderate. It is so freaking strange. So please get your primary ballots in. Please don't sit out D on D races because some of these Democrats are liars and they're also incredibly extreme.